Hey everyone, and welcome to Blink and You'll Miss It, the special SNIPS Showcase edition of the podcast that is over before you know it. I am James, your host, and this is a 15-minute episode where we're going to cover 5 songs from the Short Music for Short People compilation. And this is a compilation that was released in June of 1999. It was billed as 101 bands playing 30-second songs. It was a CD, so that meant that it only had 99 tracks available. So tracks 99, 100, and 101 were all on track 99. And it was seminal to my education in punk rock. Every time I would learn about a new band, they would be on this compilation. It has so many things, so many bands on it. I made a list of bands that aren't on it, that are on it, but I won't be covering today. And this is that list: Less Than Jake, Bad Religion, Black Flag, Anti-Flag, Green Day, Gwar, NoFX, No Use for a Name, Lagwagon, Strung Out, Bouncing Souls, Unwritten Law, Nerf Herder, Chicks Dig It, The Living End, The Offspring, AFI, The Vandals, Misfits, H2O, and, of course, Blink-182. The Blink-182 song is called Family Reunion, and it is on Season 1 of Blink and You'll Miss It, where we have a podcast within a podcast called Dirty Blink, where Aaron and I talk about the dirtiest of Blink songs, and the 30-second song they put on Short Music for Short People is very dirty. So before we get into anything else, I've told you, so Blink and Miss It, like I said, is a Blink-182 discography podcast. We cover Blink-182 songs. We cover all associated side projects such as Plus 44 and Boxcar Racer and other things like that. We did Season 1 for most of it, and then Season 2 was the new Blink release, 9, and then we did a couple of demos and cover songs and stuff like that for Season 2. Season 3 is all... I know the songs I'm going to do that aren't Blink songs. I'm just waiting for the next Blink release. So that is who I am and what we're doing here. The only other thing that I have to talk about is I thought that it might be weird to watch me for 15 minutes. I'm not going to really be able to interact with the chat right now because time, but I'm going to be looking at the chat afterwards. And if you want to get in touch with me, I'll give my Twitter handle for both personal and podcast tweet handle at the end of the show. But what I'm going to do for visual aid are these patented Blink and You'll Miss It cue cards. So this is the intro. You can see James, your host, Short Music for Short People, 101 bands, 99 tracks. So this is the kind of thing we're going to be seeing right now. Let's get into our first song, and it is The Descendants with I Like Food. This is track number 39 on the compilation, and it is from the Descendants, who are a sort of a founding group, a founding band in the pop punk scene. They were started as a 2-piece acoustic guitar band in the late 70s, and it shifted to a 1-piece abandoned project, then a 3-piece instrumental power trio, a 4-piece band with a female lead singer named Cecilia Loera, and then finally they settled on a lead singer that they would stick with for the rest of their career, and still is, Milo Aukerman. He brought a lot of energy to the band, and I guess maybe a love of coffee, because once Milo joined, they started drinking this drink called what they called the bonus cup. They described it as a third of a cup of coffee grounds, some hot water, and about 5 packets of sugar. They had this every day, and it resulted in very fast, short songs. They said, basically, they started melodic before Milo got there. They moved to hardcore when Milo got there, and then they sort of eventually melded into melodic hardcore, which is sort of what they're known for kind of popularizing. This song is on their first EP, which is called the Fat EP. It's 5 songs. It's 4 minutes and 30 seconds long. 4 minutes and 37 seconds, excuse me. It has I Like Food on it, and it also has Wiener Schnitzel, which is a song that was featured in the Christian Slater pirate radio movie Pump Up the Volume. That's the Descendants song in that. This this album did very, very well. In fact, music journalist Greil Marcus said that if a more perfect disc has appeared this year, that's 1981, I haven't heard it. And rock critic and noted grump Robert Christgau called it a punk classic, praising the short, fast songs and calling Wiener Schnitzel their masterpiece, 11 seconds of dialogue augmented by 2 guitar blams. All of the 50 or so listeners I've subjected to it have had the same basic response. Play it again, will ya? Oh, Robert. So this song is about liking food, liking to eat food, and sort of eat and not dine, and also kind of cannibalism. Some eating teenage girls with ketchup on them. That's neither here nor there. Maybe they have a weird idea of what cavemen were like or something. I'm not sure. This song is very good, but let's move on to the next one. The next one is by Australian band Frenzel Ram, and the song is called My Pants Keep Falling Down. It is track 69, nice, and this is the story of Frenzel Ram. They started as a duo in a suburb of Sydney, Australia, and they basically got together to be in a battle of the bands and then decided to just stay together. They named their band after one of the band members' pet rats, which apparently was named Frenzel Ram, and the rat was named after the Fresnel Ram, which is a prism-like device developed by 19th century French engineer Augustin Jean Fresnel. You know, Australian punk bands, they are just really wild. So they made a 7-song EP in 1994. Then they had their first album they released in 1995. And they went on tour with Bad Religion, The Offspring, and Blink-182. But then they went on a national tour. Now, I couldn't find if that was a national tour of Australia or America, with NoFX. And Fat Mike got his hands on the first album and was very impressed with it. So what he did, in typical Fat Mike fashion, instead of just signing them, challenged lead singer Jay Whaley to a game of pool, that if Whaley won, Fat Mike would sign them to Fat Records. And Jay Whaley won, and they got signed to Fat Records and began their trip on being one of the biggest independent Australian bands out there. And this song is notable because when I have belt trouble or like loose pants that are giving me trouble, I have been known to sing out loud to the delight of my family, My Pants Keep Falling Down. So that is why I included this, plus 69 Nice. Let's move on to track 3. It is the Ataris, The Radio Still Sucks. This is a song by the Ataris. The Ataris are basically the first pop punk band I ever got into. They are from Anderson, Indiana. Important. They were started by Christopher with a K, Rowe, and Jason Thomason. Again, 2 guys, no drums. They didn't have a drummer. They used a drum machine to record their demo tape. And they got their demo tape. They sort of went on tour with people, played shows with the drum machine, but they got their demo tape to Joe Escalante, who was the lead singer of the Vandals, who owned Kung Fu Records. And Joe Escalante liked them and signed them. They still didn't have a drummer, but they were able to access a larger pool given Kung Fu Records' sort of reach. So eventually they settled on ex-Lagwagon drummer Derek Plord to record their first album, Anywhere But Here, which took less than a week. So they were signed to a record label. Things were going well. And so Chris Rowe decided to move to Santa Barbara, California. They did a tour in October of 1997, but Thomason decided that he wasn't going to move to California. He was going to stay in Indiana, and that meant he was going to leave the band. So the band fell apart, and Chris Rowe ended up living in a van with no money. So he considered his options. He was going to either move back to Anderson, Indiana. The name of the town is Anderson. Great name. Or he could keep his tour commitment, which was that the Ataris were committed to doing a tour with Unwritten Law and Dancehall Crashers. That's UL and DHC to all my Blink-182 fans. So he decided to do the second one and put together a band in Santa Barbara that apparently was the magic combination needed to make the Ataris successful. They started getting more and more popular, eventually releasing an EP on Fat Records called Look Forward to Failure. And their song San Dimas High School Football Rules was on a Fat Wreck comp which is where I first heard it and immediately fell in love. They were the first pop punk band that I truly loved very much, and I mentioned that already. And this song is a song that sort of it pokes fun at a number of bands: Beck, 311, Marilyn Manson, Bush, and Oasis. And when I first heard it, I was like, are you allowed to do that? Aren't the bands going to get mad at you? Can't they like sue you or something? Nope. They were fine, and I would learn that this is sort of something you can do in punk rock, is just sort of poke the big successful bear. Ironically, I think, less than 4 years after Short Music for Short People came out, the Ataris were dominating the radio with their cover of Don Henley's The Boys of Summer. Also, I did some research, Beck, 311, Marilyn Manson, Bush, and Oasis all had pretty big careers after this song came out. Beck released 8 albums and won 6 Grammys, including Album of the Year. All of them released albums after the last Ataris album that has come out came out. And all of them, except for Oasis, released albums within the past 2 years. So I guess that's kind of like a wish not fulfilled for Chris Rowe, but I think he got a lot of wishes fulfilled. So this song also appeared on a split EP with the band Useless ID, and early versions of other songs from subsequent albums would appear on that EP. Next up, we have Useless ID, who are on Short Music for Short People with their song Too Bad You Don't Get It, which is track 80. The Let It Burn EP, which is their split EP, has the name of it on sort of a star-spangled situation over Let It Burn. So I thought both of these bands were American. But it turns out that Useless ID is from Israel. I looked up, the Wikipedia has their Hebrew name, and I looked it up and asked the aforementioned Vice President of Scavengers Network, Morgan Spatola, for some help with the pronunciation. And she said it was very interesting because it's pronounced, the Hebrew characters are pronounced Useless ID. So we weren't sure, and I couldn't find any confirmation one way or the other, whether this was a cool way for Useless ID to have stylized their name in Hebrew, or if this is someone did a Wikipedia entry where they did some sort of translation software that just took the sounds and put them in Hebrew. They are the most successful Middle Eastern punk band, one of the most successful Middle Eastern punk bands in the world. They released their first 2 records on their own record label, Falafel Records. Then in 1996, they decided to play in the US, so they did. It was 1996, so like you could do that. The tour was successful, so they went on 5 more tours around North America, 2 around Europe, and 1 in Japan until 1999, when Chris Rowe from the Ataris heard them and asked them to be on a split. They were on the split, and then Short Music for Short People. Then they got signed to Kung Fu Records and became, still pretty famous and releasing stuff on all sorts of record labels in America and abroad. Got 2 minutes and 37 seconds to do the last song and the outro. Last song is by Dancehall Crashers. It is called Triple Track, and it is track 40. Dancehall Crashers actually started after Tim Armstrong and Matt Freeman left Operation Ivy, but before they started Rancid. So they left Operation Ivy, then started Dancehall Crashers because they wanted kind of a traditional ska or rocksteady sound in the band they were in. So they started it, then almost immediately quit and left the band to sort of shuffle their lineup. They went on to make other hardcore bands until they started Rancid. So Dancehall Crashers sort of flailed around for a good lineup until eventually they settled on dual vocalist Karina Danica Schwartz and Elise Rogers. And that lineup got booked in 1990 for an all-ska Earth Day festival, which is a wild thing, opening for Bad Manners. And they recorded their debut shortly thereafter. Then they broke up. It became a buzzy hit, and so they got sort of convinced to go back together in 1991 and 1992. They did so well that they decided to make it a thing, come back together, and throughout the 90s, they toured a lot with Mighty Mighty Boss Stones and Bad Religion, and also Unwritten Law on the Ataris. They are, I would imagine, one of the few bands to play both Lilith Fair and Warped Tour. They released a live DVD in 2004, but they haven't played any shows or made any announcements about new releases or breakups in the interim. They are very great, and you should check them out. So here we are with a minute left to go and the outro. Here's the outro. You can find me as a podcast on Twitter at Blink226Racer. You can find me as an individual human being at Unabashed James. You can find Short Music for Short People on the Fat Records website for $8 for either digital or CD and digital copy. And finally, I have about 45 seconds left. Thank you for watching me. This has been an absolute dream and also semi anxious nightmare, but lots and lots of fun. Thank you for watching. Now I've been told to either I want you to stay tuned or what's that? Either stay tuned or don't stay tuned. Probably stay tuned for Finish It, who are up next. Enjoy SNIPS. See you all of the days on the SNIPS showcase. Bye.